Hey there, I'm gonna make a super quick video about my hair and how I got to this. I'm gonna use exclusively photo booth pictures for this just because they're all in the same place on my computer and most of them are just of me. If there's any other people, I just crop them out of the photo. I'm gonna just view the photos on my laptop as I talk about them and then have them over here on the screen. On to our first image. This is what I looked like senior year of high school. I had grown my hair out really long. It's not super easy to tell just because these photos are kind of dark, but it's been chemically straightened, so it's lying flat-ish, but it still has curls in it. Being mixed, I have hair that has multiple textures in it, so it can kind of be interesting to see how it has reacted to either being straightened or being left alone or being put up. Whatever I've put it through, which I've put it through a lot. Long hair was okay for me for senior year. I liked it. It was fine, but I really wanted a change when I went to college. This is the first big chop, number one. This was the first time in college. I had cut it and had it short a couple times before. What had happened here is I'd gone to a salon, had them chemically straighten my hair, and then I had a hairdresser cut it for me in the style that I was looking for. So I let this grow out for a while. You can see it in the side view that the back of my hair tends to be kind of kinkier curls, tighter. It tends to be very loose curls all around the front of my head. It's kind of strange. But yeah, you can start to really see the texture changes as it grows. Here is just an example of what this style looked like when it was growing out a little bit, and this is right after a shower, I think. There's a little bit of stretching there. And then after a while, it grew into this bit of madness. It didn't really have much of a style anymore because I just kind of let it do its thing. It's starting to grow in a lot of weird directions. There are some bits that are straighter, some bits that are curls. I mean, part of that is due to it being chemically processed, but part of it is just my natural hair texture, so it's kind of hard to differentiate sometimes. So that's probably what it looks like at its worst, or what it looked like at its worst at that phase. And then here is an example of what it looks like probably at its best, at its healthiest. You can see more of my natural curls coming out. They're less tamped down by the chemical processes. There are times that I can get it to have more of the, I guess, the puffiness of the afro that I was looking for. There are times where it just, for some reason, it didn't want to stick up in the top. It would just kind of flatten, and I absolutely hated that. So that was kind of annoying. I would go and get it processed to make it so that it would be manageable. This is the version of myself that grew up in a white culture where having straight, good hair was the way to be, and that was definitely something that I absorbed in my childhood and felt like that's what I really wanted. I didn't even realize there was really another way to be. I mean, I had various hairstyles, but I think what I always wanted underneath was that straight hair. This is just coming out of the salon, basically. You can see that it's been curled under a bit. Also, I started doing this thing where I would push back my hair instead of having a part. I used to have a part all the time when I was younger, but I'm not even sure why I started it, but I decided that's what I wanted. I think part of it was just to get it off of my face. You know, it's fine for a while, but then over time it starts to grow out. You can see here, really it's damaged. I mean, it's not good. I was so busy in college that I kind of just let it go a bit. And then this next picture, it's kind of interesting because you can see what it looks like before and after straightening with a hot iron, which I would do fairly often. It kind of just depended on how much time I had, whether or not I had an event to go to or something. And then here I'm on tour actually with a band, and so during that time I had no means of straightening it. I let it grow out. This is still processed hair at this point, but it's really starting to curl at the ends big time. And this is when it started to get really kind of unmanageable. After I got back from tour, I was going through the areas, kind of feeling around in there, and realized there was a dreadlock that had kind of created itself. I decided that I wanted to seriously dye my hair blonde. And this was a professional job. They did a great job with the dye. I think it was a really nice color for my skin tone, and I Kind of wish that I could go back to that. I mean, I realize that it's not great for you, and it's a lot harder to dye and a lot more dangerous too to dye shorter hair. So that was a perfect opportunity for me to try out blonde hair. After a while, you can see it's starting to grow out once again. You know, it's not long after you get a treatment done that your hair will just sort of go back to its normal state. So, at least for me, I don't know what other people's experiences are like. That's what it was like for me. Here are two comparison photos. The first one, this is probably at its worst. It's dyed, but it's unstraightened at this point. This is right after I straightened it at home. And it's amazing, the volume just whoosh. So it looks really different, and it makes me look different. When I was on track with straightening it at home, I was able to make it look fairly decent. Like here, I didn't put my hair up that much in college. Here's an example of one time that I did, and I have this nice little bun. But most of the time, I just had it out like this. And it's just crazy to look back and see how all these different textures in my hair were showing up. It's cool to look at, but also I realized that it's indicative of damage, i.e. here. Problems. It hurts me to see the ends of my hair here. It's just, oh my gosh. But I worked with it as much as I could. Here's a picture of me in Quebec studying abroad. This is also a photo where you can see more clearly what the dye looks like because there's daylight. Eventually this happened. As much as it was not easy to deal with at this point, I actually really liked this hairstyle. I still had the no part thing going on, so I was pushing back my hair, and then I took a chunk of it and I just made a big fat braid. Then I made another little braid over here. It has so much volume that it can easily hold a braid without having a band or anything to tie it. But I could only handle that so long. So chop number 2. Here we go. I may have just gotten it chemically straightened and then cut it myself. I know there was some cutting myself. My hair's so thick that when there's less of it, it's just simpler. I don't even know what's going on back there. It's a thing. I liked it initially, but then over time it kind of devolved into madness. It's really hard to straighten those short ends because I have kind of a fat straightener. It could look nice at times. Like here, it's not only wavier, which I like the natural wave, but it is a lot less large. But it doesn't stay that way, of course. And then here, I was just like, I'm done. I'm just done. I can't. I don't want to go through having to cut it short and then wait for it to grow out and figure out. It's always a learning process. You're figuring out all these different styles as it goes along, and you're spending a lot of money dealing with it and a lot of time too, and I just was sick of it. And on a more serious note, I was realizing that I had this inborn sense that having black hair was really not as good as having white hair. I mean, I would never have probably said that when I was young, but I think I felt that, and I think that that's very pervasive in this culture, whether we realize it or not. As a result of that, I had no idea how to... I just didn't know there was even another option. I didn't know what to do. I hadn't found a solution that had really worked for me yet, because I didn't want it to have to keep growing out and not really knowing what to do with it. Like, I wanted a secure, single style that I could just stick with. And that's when I did my third chop. This is senior year of college, and this was, I think, the first day, or maybe the second day. I had toyed with having maybe a mohawk, maybe having a rat tail. I wasn't quite sure, but I decided on these side bits, and I really like it. Here I had decided to straighten it, but for most of the time, and you can see a back view here too, mostly I kept it curly, and you can see how much shrinkage there is. I haven't actually cut these since I initially chopped it in 2013, so they're pretty long now, but I still kept dyeing it blonde. I think you can see a little bit at the ends here, and these are messy in the picture, but it's so easy to fix. I mean, you literally I just wake up in the morning and I just douse them in a bit of water and let them shrink up and curl. I believe this is about 1/4 inch. At the top here, I tend to keep it at a quarter. It's a quarter right now. I just cut it the other day. There were times that I got lazy and didn't get around to trimming it. So this is an example of that. This is what it looks like when it grows out a bit at the top. I don't personally like it. Some of my coworkers like it and they say, oh, you look like a sheep, you look all fluffy, but I'm not really into fluffy. So, and although this isn't a great picture to actually see what's going on, what's happening here is I have tied these back like this. Sometimes I do this in the summer when it's super hot and it's bad, but I actually sometimes tie them in a knot in the back just to get them out of the way. Here's what they look like in a different style with a hat. And this is one of the first times that I cut it even shorter at the top. I think this is an 1/8. An 1/8 is the lowest I've gone so far, and I think that's probably the lowest I would go unless I chop the sides off. Here's just a picture where you can see again the length. In the photo you're probably seeing about 3/8 of growth at the top, and you can see there are also spots that are dyed. I'm still really learning about different dyes. I'm not an expert by any means, but I really dig the idea of having blonde hair. But yeah, basically my hair is so much healthier now that I don't process it. I feel a little more comfortable dyeing it because I know that I'm not putting process over process. I'm getting to know my hair a little bit more. I'm appreciating it more, I think, and not feeling like I'm trying to make it into something that it doesn't need to be. By all means, Black women have all sorts of different hairstyles, and it's totally fine to straighten your hair. I think just for me, my desire to straighten my hair was coming from a place of not feeling like I loved my hair enough, and just misinformation, like just not having enough information to understand the ways that I could become more creative with my hair and what I did with it. And sure, I mean, I've had a lot of styles that I guess you could call creative, but I guess what I mean by that is thinking outside the box a little bit more, because for me, the styles that I had all throughout college were very normal to me. Like, that was a routine that I knew. That's all I knew, was letting it grow out, straightening it, cutting it, letting it grow out, straightening it, cutting it. And I needed something different, and I really feel happy with the way that my hair is right now. So that's a brief history for you. This will probably be the last video that I upload before I go to LA, just because there's so much to do and it's coming up really soon. So I want to make sure that I am taking care of what I need to take care of, and I'm going to do my best to upload as much as I can. Keep you guys updated with what's happening out there. I will talk to you all soon. Bye!